Okay. So the way I roll with these area design assignments, once we're done with the book, is to, it used to be when I first started working here, these assignments were set up where I had four walls for the master bath assignment. I had four walls for the bath assignment, and they were all on separate models, and it was just like this isolated thing. And I thought, well, when I switched the drawings over from soft plan, which the previous instructor did, to Revit, I'm like, it's stupid to just design these things in their little islands. I wanted to put them into a house plan where they could all kind of logically make sense. Now, this is not a good house plan, but the purpose of this house plan was to put these four rooms in some sort of context. So you can see here the first assignment, the extra credit assignment, is the service area. And that's a name for where we're going to have a mud room in there, we're going to have a laundry room in there, and we're going to have a half bath or a powder room. And the you're coming in from the garage and you walk through that mud laundry service area to get into the kitchen. And when we do the bath assignment, we're going to work on these two baths. And if we do that, when we do the kitchen assignment, we're going to do a kitchen design in that area. The thing to remember with your service area assignment is where you put the door in from the service areas to the kitchen, you have to leave it there. You're stuck with it. So think about how that impacts what you might do for a kitchen design when you put a door in from your service area. So I've got a little PowerPoint I want to show you about service area design, and then I'll talk a little about the extra credit assignment. Okay, here we go. So the average American family does 400 loads of laundry per year. So it is a big part of, it's got to function right. So you kind of think of the work involved in doing your laundry, sorting clothes, washing, drying, folding, ironing. Now, I'm of the opinion ironing is going to go extinct because I'm old enough. Back in the day, everything was ironed. Your socks were ironed, your underwear was ironed, the shirts weren't permanent press, they were ironed. Everything was ironed. But now, with permanent press, you take it out of the dryer and hang it up, the wrinkles come out. Nobody irons their underwear or their socks anymore. So I don't think ironing is as important as it used to be, and I don't think it's going to be much important in the future. But we want to make this efficient so we don't use a lot of time and we have maximum efficiency. So just as a basic concept, you can have a L-shaped laundry room. So typically a laundry area has a sink. And one of the reasons it has a sink is there's stuff you need to wash or wash off that you don't throw into the washer. And the other thing is that sometimes your washer screws up and it doesn't drain properly, and you need to have a sink nearby to take all your load of clothes and throw it in the sink and let it drain out there. Your washer can mess up. So and then ideally, there's some sort of counter space for like sorting, like uh, wash, and dealing with other items that you're doing in kind of the service air located area. So now, just to kind of give you, so these are front load washer and dryers, and you have your choice when you buy these things of getting these pedestals for storage to get them up to a height where you don't have to bend down and put the stuff in. So as you do your design, consider that. So a galley style is just along one wall, you have your laundry area. Um, so it's very efficient, cost effective. Your plumbing is on the same wall because you have your sink and your washer and dryer on the same way. Um, the other thing that's kind of you do need to think up a little bit, especially if you're doing a mud laundry room or a laundry room in the middle of the house, the dryer needs to vent outside. And you can't have this dryer vent go 20 different turns because every time you do a turn on a dryer vent, the air loses velocity and all the lint falls off of it. And then you need to constantly clean that, otherwise it'll get plugged up. Anybody ever have a plugged up dryer vent that has to be cleaned? So ideally they just shoot right out the wall with hardly any turns at all. But I've seen some of the people put them in the inside of the house and they got to go up into the wall, up, over, and it's very hard to keep enough velocity through that dryer vent to keep the lint from all falling off and plugging up your dryer vent pipe. So the front loading washing machines, so this ones aren't on up on a pedestal. They do give you the option of building them in with a countertop over the top of them. So you could theoretically you could fold on top of the machines, or this is just nicer, maybe a little bit easier to clean with a Formica countertop or a plastic laminate countertop that you can use that for folding space. Now you can get as extreme as you want. This one's a U-shaped laundry room with like an island. And you can see here, this is an interesting scenario where they've got like, maybe this is a 6-person family and everybody in their bedroom has a laundry tub that they can fill up with clothes and then bring it down there. So it'd be a way to sort the clothes to what clothes go to what person. And, it would be a way to get the dirty clothes out of the bedroom into the laundry room. And then when you do a load, you'd be like, oh, you probably have the person's name on the laundry tubs. This is probably a high-end house. I don't think I've ever seen before, apart from this picture, which I found off the internet, somebody that needs 2 washers and dryers because they're doing so many loads of laundry. I could, maybe if it's like, I don't know, help me out. I can't think of a scenario why you would need 2 things. Yeah. Or a shared house, or maybe a VRBO where you're renting out a lot of bedrooms or something. And I really don't know what it, you have an idea? Anybody else have any ideas? But yeah, maybe they all play sports, or maybe it's just a huge family. They've got like 15 kids or something. Yeah, that might be too. Okay, so, but for our assignment I'm giving you, do not put 2 washers and dryers in. So here's another galley. Very efficient laundry area where you have a side-by-side front load washer and dryer. You have a sink, and then you have a low shower. That low shower is for doggies, and it's also like for people that do gardening, like for plants. They like having that low shower. Because you can like spray off bugs or you do stuff with plants and you don't have to do it like in your kitchen sink or whatever. But it's really a dog shower, so that's for a pet owner. So ideally, when you have these front load washers and dryers, you don't have them like a foot or 2 away from a wall when those doors are open. Because ideally, if those doors are hanging open a little bit, you should be able to walk by them without running into the doors all the time. So in my perfect world, I would allow 3'6" or 4 feet in front of the front loading appliances. Now, this assignment I'm giving you is kind of tricky because the way my predecessor set it up, you're trying to get 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. There's not enough space to make everything as big as it should be, so you have to make judgment calls. And that's really the way the real world works, because each square foot is super expensive on houses now. I'm hearing like $400 for custom houses per square foot. So if I could save a square foot, that's $400. So if I could make just a little bit of a critique of the interior design program, when I go look at your capstones, a lot of times they have houses that every room is as big as it needs to be and a little bit bigger. They're just huge. Did you see that in some of I know yours probably weren't like that, but some of your colleagues, did you see that some of the projects were just humongous houses? Okay. Okay. But I've seen it in other cohorts. But the real world is you're always trying to get a lot of stuff in a space that ideally you would like it to be bigger. So this is the one assignment that I give where The bathroom assignments, I give you enough space. The kitchen assignment, I give you enough space. If you're doing the extra credit, you're going to be challenged because I don't really give you enough space to follow all the rules. So you got to make judgment calls. One thing to think about is it's either a laundry pickup center or a place to hang clothes as soon as they come out of the dryer. Because one of the things with permanent press is if you leave the stuff sit in the laundry basket for 3 hours, it will get wrinkly and then you will have to iron it. So if you can take it out and you know you're not going to get up to the room to hang it up, you can just go ahead and hang it up close by. So and it's a worthwhile idea. I don't know if it's a absolute has to happen, but it's not a bad idea. The other thing you need to think about is if you've ever looked at Tide Pods or ever Googled Tide Pod poisonings or laundry pod poisonings, they look like candy, right? And they've got all these cute little colors. And if you keep your Tide Pods down low, there have been cases where little kids got poisoned because they ate the Tide Pods. So consider a place where above reach of little kids, where you can store your laundry and a bleach too. Nobody wants something, the kid, oh, I'm going to take a swig of this, see what it looks like. Oh, it looks like a milk jug. Well, it's bleach or it's ammonia. So we want to get those materials up in a closed cabinet above where children can reach them. So now we're moving on away from the laundry, and now we're moving on to the mudroom function. A more refined way maybe of saying it is the owner's entry. That's where you use it every day. Most people do not walk in their front door every day when they come into the house. They come into a door where it's typically attached to the garage. And like back in the day when I was visiting farms when my grandma and grandpa lived on a farm, nobody walked in the front door. That front door might have been painted over 20 times. That door did not open. Everybody came in the back door. So when you come home every day, it's often a kind of a crappy place in the worst place in the house. I know the house I grew up in, we were always tripping over everybody's boots because we had like 40 pairs of boots in the hallway that we walked in. And we didn't have a closet, so we had coats up on hooks and we'd have like 4 layers of coats. So to get my coat, I'd have to throw 3 other coats on the floor and then I'd forget to pick them up and then I'd get yelled at. So you want it to be a nice space that works properly for you. So let's talk about how we do that. So when you're coming in it's typically from the garage to the kitchen. You're bringing in groceries, you're bringing in mail typically. Sometimes you're bringing in your keys. You got your cell phone in your hand. You're also dealing with things going from the kitchen to the garage. A lot of times you keep your garbage out in the garage, so you're taking your garbage and your recyclables out to the garage. In this climate here, we've got coats, boots, mittens, hat, gloves, all the crap, umbrellas. I could keep going on. Pets just add another level of stuff. Now you need the doggy harness and the doggy boots and the doggy sweaters. So that all needs to get stored. And then if you're playing sports, a lot of times this becomes a place where you're keeping your sports materials or maybe your hobby materials. So we want to try to make a way to have order here. So if you can see here, we've got hooks for hanging. We've got a place for a bench to sit on. And we've got little recesses that you could put maybe your boots down low and everybody could get a bin to put their hats and gloves in. And you'll notice it's got nice natural light and it's lit up. So ideally, we want 40 square feet at a minimum for the mudroom area. There should be a room enough for one person to remove a coat while another person sits down to take off damp shoes. Because you don't want to have a space that's so small if two people are coming in together that one person has to wait out in the garage until the other one gets their stuff off. So again, I'm giving you one where we're trying to get too much stuff in an area, but ideally two people could use the mudroom at the same time. Here again, you see there's a bench, there's a place to store boots. And this is that old school open perforated metal. So it hides the clutter, but it lets air circulate through. Because if you're bringing in wet stuff and you put it in a closed cabinet, what's going to happen to it? It's going to get moldy. Okay, so you need air circulation if you're bringing in wet stuff. So this is actually a pretty clever design. So here's another one. You don't have to do a closet. You can do hooks for coats. That's kind of how I grew up. Um, Ideally, though, you have enough hooks so that, and maybe have it so that each member of the family has their own place to put their coats. So you can see this is very logical. Billy's shoes are here, and Billy's coats are here, and Billy's hats are here. This is Susie's coats and shoes and hats. So it's like a way that you can kind of not have to sort through everybody's stuff to try to find your stuff. So it's a pretty clever design. So try to have a window or at least natural light, borrow natural light into the mudroom. And obviously it needs to be lit properly at the ceiling for night use, or like artificial light at night. Again, we've got drawers here. I don't think the drawers are great for shoes, again, because they're wet. I think they're gonna get moldy, but it looks good on the picture. A place to sit down, hooks, and then each person can probably get a tub to put their stuff in. So these are all variations on a theme. This one is actually putting the shoes in a wire grid, so there's air circulation in their own cubby. Then they've got hooks and they've got more cubbies, and this is probably like off-season stuff. So like in the winter, you put your summer stuff up there, and in the summer, you put your winter stuff up there to get it out of the way. There's a lot of words on here. This is I need to edit this a little bit. This is posted up to Blackboard. I'll let you read all this on your own, but I guess this is making the point way on the bottom that without a place of your own, shoes end up everywhere, and designate a waterproof area for them. Because when you come in on a day like today, you're going to bring in dirt, grit, salt, snow, and you can't just put them in a closed cabinet. And ideally, you can't just put them on a piece of wood cabinetry because it'll wreck it over time. So this is a combination of mudroom function and laundry room function. Now, when I say I'm giving you three rooms in this extra credit, mudroom, laundry room, and powder room. That does not mean we need to have three separate rooms with four walls around each room. You can combine the mudroom and the laundry room. In our culture, though, we don't go to the bathroom out in the public, so we need four walls around the bathroom. Okay. Now let's talk about the powder room. It's also called a half bath. The way half baths roll is a tub, a shower, I'm sorry, a tub or a tub shower, a toilet, and a sink is a full bath. A shower, a toilet, and a sink is a three-quarter bath, and a sink and a toilet is a half bath. It's Typically, it's a very small room, 4 feet by 5 feet. Now, if you have to deal with accessibility for your client, then we have to take that into consideration. And 4 feet by 5 feet is not going to work. Um, but it does get used a lot. Um, and it's typically used like by the owners because they're coming in from outside. They've just been on a long trip or they've been outside. It's a nice place to go to the bathroom without having to traipse through the rest of the house. If you're working in the garage and you need to go to the bathroom or wash your hands, it's close without going into the good bathrooms. But it's also often situated so guests don't have to walk in and use your bathroom in your master suite or where the bedrooms are. So this is also not only the owner's bath when they come in from outside of the garage, it's the guest bath that if you've got a party, you don't want people going into your bathroom and seeing what medications you're taking in the medicine cabinet. You want them to have a kind of a designated visitor's bathroom. So ideally, doorway should allow at least 32 inches for easy access. If again, accessibility, we might have to bump that up a bit. So if you've got a tight space, so we've got this small space in a powder room. Normally on a house, the doors swing into the room, but on a powder room, if it's small, it might not really allow you to have enough space to get in and have a door swinging in. So you can use pocket doors. You can have the door swing out of the powder room. So one of the things that I've noticed on student designs, and like imagine this was all the space there was, and this was like a nice big 3-foot door here and it swung that way. Well, now let's imagine that I'm standing there. I just walked into the room. How do I shut the door? I literally almost have to stand on the toilet to shut the door because I'm standing in the door swing area. So in a case like that, where it's a very tight bath, the powder room's pocket door would make sense, or having it slide out. Um, Pocket doors allow full access without taking up clearance for the swing. They are difficult to get them to be accessible and fully go into the wall. Typically, you need to keep part of it open with like a lever handle for ADA to get that accessible so it's graspable. If you've ever used a pocket door, a lot of times they've got this little thing you have to push out and you gotta get your like finger underneath there. That's not really accessible. The other thing is they do not block sound and they do not block odor as well as a normal door because they're just like flopping around in that pocket. So even though we've only got a tub, and I'm sorry, we don't have a tub in here, so we don't have to worry about big bath towels and shampoo and all that stuff. But we still need to store hand towels, toilet paper, soap, paper cups if you use them. Um, and where that typically goes is in the cabinet where the sink is located. But if you, for whatever architectural or design reasons, you want to use a pedestal sink, you need some place to store that stuff. Sometimes you can get a medicine cabinet and put some of it in, but you don't want to have it so that you have to go into a separate storage room and get a roll of toilet paper when you need toilet paper in the room, right? You need to have a place to store that stuff in there. Okay, so that's my little primer or briefing on those 3 room designs. Now let's talk about the extra credit assignment. So you're being given this Revit file. And the powder room that we're dealing with is there's a garage here. This is the mud laundry powder area. This is our kitchen area. You cannot move these walls. You are stuck you cannot make this room bigger or smaller. This is the design you've been given. And whatever door you put in to your kitchen, you're gonna have to live with when you design your kitchen. So I'm of the opinion, in my way of designing, I typically put the door here just because I can get more, because like I let you take these walls out of the kitchen to open it up to the living and dining area. So to me, the flow worked better on my thoughts of what I would do for a kitchen to put the doors on the left-hand side of that wall. You can put the garage doors again wherever you want. There should not be any doors between the service area and the rumpus room. So there's just one door here and one door here. Now, I have seen some students that did put their door into the kitchen there and they got it to work somehow. So there's not a rule that you have to put a door in a certain location. You're going to use the same plan for all 3 of the assignments, the extra credit one, the bath assignment, and the kitchen assignment. I do have a floor in here, but I do not have a ceiling in here. And I'm going to show you some examples of what students came up with. So if the students were really pressed in time on this first one, they didn't put a ceiling in. But if you want to do a good quality one, you put a ceiling in, and now you can use Enscape to its full capabilities because Enscape, as you probably can tell, does renderings much more realistic, more easily and faster than using the Revit interface. So now let's go on to the assignment here. Do I have it open? No, I don't. Okay, so let me pull it up. Oh, I got to get you the one with the right extra credit on. Just give me a second. Sorry about that. Bonus extra credit service area design. Okay, so I've given you the dimensions of those rooms. Um, my little scenario is we have 2 adults, 2 grade school children, and a dog. Take into account the family's needs and the space available. Think about their daily routine of coming and going and how it impacts your design. So we need to have mudroom functions, laundry area functions, and a powder room. There's a door to the kitchen and garage, not to the rumpus room. We need at least one window to the exterior of the house. We need a place for coats and possibly a bench in the mudroom. The laundry area needs a front load non-stacking washer and dryer. The reason I don't have a stacking washer and dryer is I've been told by the people that work on them is they're not as reliable, they break down more. Okay, so we're gonna have a front load non-stacking washer and dryer. Now, personally, do I think front loads are the total solution? Well, I'm not sure they are because the old ones used to never break down, the old top load ones with the little dial on them that didn't have computers. And I see new front loads on Craigslist for free that needs so much parts that they can't afford to fix them that are like 3 years old, 4 years old. But for our purposes here, we're going to use the front load non-stacking washer and dryer. We need to have a laundry sink and we need to have a counter space for folding. The powder room should have a toilet and a sink. The garage door into the house has to be 36 inches. You can do a bigger door in from the kitchen into the service area, but it should swing into the service area. And I'm telling you, it should be located somewhere on the west half of this wall, but you can break that rule, but it's got to be 30 inches minimum. The door into the powder room should be 2 foot 4 inch minimum wide. You can make it larger. I've had students that just kind of designed their own door, like they took a existing Revit door, duplicated it, renamed it. They don't make doors in like 2 foot 4 3/4. It's typically an even 2 inch increments. So 2 4 works, 2 6 works, 2 8 works, 2 10 works, and 3 feet work. I want a 2 scale PDF of 11 by 17 assignment uploaded to Blackboard. The Revit file I'm giving you has been set up already with 11 by 17 sheet with a floor plan view. You should add interior elevations or 3D views to this sheet, or you can create an additional sheet if additional 3D views or interior elevations are needed to show your design. If you're in person, I would like you to try to print out a hard copy to scale and turn it in for grading. Now, normally these assignments are 15 extra credit points, but I'm only 15 points. But since it's extra credit, I'm only giving you 6 points, 2 points in each of these categories, because if I give you a 15-point extra credit project, you don't have to come to class and learn about the kitchen because there's no way that's going to impact your grade. Okay, so I'm giving you extra credit points up to 6 points maximum. So it's graded on the design works good. So the function, does it meet the program criteria? Does it utilize the space? Does it have good efficiency and circulation and flow? The plan drawing is 2 points. Person looking at the plan should be able to know what things are without asking you. I don't want to see a bunch of rectangles and like, oh, that's my washer. Oh, that's a bench. So you need to either do labels or keynotes. At a bare minimum, you also need room names and rooms, and you need a double W layer on your washer, a label on your washer, and a D on the dryer. Printed to correct scale, dimensions correctly located. And you need dimensions, right? So if you're building a wall around your powder room, you need to give me dimensions so the carpenter can go in and build that wall. So it's not just we print it to scale and they have to scale off it. Title block includes your name and date, and the views are properly located and cropped. I typically give students a week to work on this project. So I'm giving you a week and 1 day because it's due maybe a week and a half a day. It's due start of class next Thursday. 3D renderings or interior elevations. You don't have to do 3D renderings or views. You can do interior elevations. Most of the students that have done well on it like to see what it looks like in 3D, so they've given me color renderings of it, but you don't have to. You can give me a black and white rendering, or you can give me just interior elevations. But I need views that best show the design, not zoomed in or out too far. And I'm also going to be grading you on scale and proportion of the design. Okay, so now let's show you some examples of good quality projects from past students that I gotten permission to show. So it's a little bit hard to get a decent rendering on these small spaces, but here's one. This is using Enscape. Let me close this goofy window here. So this is showing the laundry area part of it. This is showing the mudroom area part of it. This is back when we used soft plan, but this one incorporated a doggy shower, and then the mudroom was to the right. The laundry room was around the corner to the left, and then the powder room was to the door immediately to the left. They actually hit a wall and put their camera in where the mud room area was to show the laundry room and the powder room. This is a Revit one, showing I think it's the garage in from the garage, the door in from the garage. Now this one you'll notice it's a 2-point perspective with the vertical lines vertical. If you can get by with showing your design that way, it looks better. It's more architectural if you don't have the 3-point perspective effect. I'm going to quickly go back to this 3-point perspective. That's a 3-point perspective because they're looking down. That's a 3-point perspective when you're looking down. So if you can see, if you can get it to be, this is a 2-point where I think it's straight up and down. Yeah, that one's straight up and down. It looks a little bit more architectural if you can keep your vertical lines vertical. This is that same project as we look in to like an L-shaped laundry area. And so those are the best ones I've seen in recent years. Okay, so this is extra credit. You do not have to do it. I just want to at least talk about it. So if you ever do end up having to design these, or if we have to design an area like this in the Habitat House, we've talked about what's involved. Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.